My name is Carly Vuga, and tonight I'm going to be presenting on the book Just Listen by Mark Goulston. Mark Goulston is a psychiatrist. He is a hostage negotiator. He's also involved in business coaching, a father, and a husband. So he has a lot of titles. In all of those situations, he happens to have an audience, someone that he needs to listen to him. So tonight I'm going to present in his book on how to get people to listen to you. So what's the point today? The point is that sometimes we're involved in conversations that look like this, where you are shouting at someone and they don't seem to be picking up what you're putting down. What I want for you tonight is something that looks like this. A conversation where there's active listening and speaking going on between you and your audience. So how do we get there? How do we gain buy-in from those we're trying to get to listen to us? We do it by sharing vulnerabilities and by listening and reflecting with our audience. So in the book, the author talks about this image that I have up here called the Persuasion Cycle. And what this cycle does is it starts at the beginning up here, resisting to doing, and it takes you all the way through to getting the buy-in that you need and getting them to do what you want them to do and then continuing to do it. So tonight I'm just going to take you through the first two steps, this barrier of resisting to doing, and then finishing with the listening portion, which is one of the most important parts. So how do you get through this initial barrier? If you are presenting on a topic, whether it be personal or professional, and you are met with resistance, how do you get past that? You get past it by being vulnerable. So your initial goal is to show them that you are human as well. You're just like them, experiencing issues that they are also experiencing. So you have to be honest, and you must ask for help. You must be willing to ask for help. In order to be honest, you have to show your audience that you too have an issue at times and are willing to work through it. So for instance, let's say you found a mistake in your work at some point. What do you typically do? Would you hope that no one notices it and kind of move past? What if instead you happen to present the problem, tell them about it, and say, you know what, next time I'm going to do this. You've given them a chance to kind of see your vulnerable side and show that, you know what, maybe this person's human after all. They make a mistake and they're willing to move past it. It's an interesting point in the book. Goulston uses a phrase or a sentence where he says, instead of baring your teeth, bare your neck. It's kind of an odd analogy, but I think it really kind of drives home the point that instead of when your initial response is to react negatively, to instead react a little bit more positively to show that side of you that maybe they weren't expecting. So you also have to be, with that note, be willing to ask for help. If you have an issue, you have to ask for help. And by doing that, you're actively engaging them to respond back to you in a positive way. If you show them, again, you're being human, you have a problem, maybe they can help you. So that's how you will get past your initial barrier, by overcoming the vulnerable side of people. So I think after you're through with that barrier, you're going to move on to the listening portion, where you need people to listen to you. So the last part of this is to gain this buy-in is through the reflection and the listening. And in order to do this, you have to be able to anticipate, and you have to be able to pause and observe what you've seen. And in order to do this, you must enact some of these initial qualities. So if you pause and kind of anticipate what you think what someone is going through, what they might be thinking about a particular situation, that will allow you to invite them to listen to you. The author gives a really unique example in the book, which I kind of went through in the last presentation, but I really want to drive it home this time. And that is, when he was in the middle of a hostage negotiation, there was a gentleman that had a gun to his head, actually to his head, in an open parking lot. And for an hour and a half, the police spent time trying to talk him down by saying, this is dangerous. Why are you doing this? You could hurt someone. The gun never went down. They called in the author, and he started asking questions. What's going on with you? He posed to him, what's happening in your life? Why have you gotten to this point? And so eventually he asked the question, so you feel like you've been backed into a corner, and this is your only option. This is your only way out. And the guy with the gun to his head said, yes. It was his first yes. So he started shifting that conversation from no, no, no to yes. And from there, he resolved the issue. The gun came down. Everyone was safe. And I think that you can take into both personal and professionally what you can do to gain a listening audience. So what are your takeaways? Today, we want you to speak the truth and share the truth and be vulnerable so that people can understand you and be willing to break through the barriers that might be presented to them. And then after you're through with those barriers, get them to actually listen to you. So take that with you today, and thank you. Okay, so my number one was not to have notes. Last time it was incredibly distracting, and I knew the material, and I relied on those stupid notes anyway, and I think it really took away from the interaction I was able to have with the audience. And I think to JT's point when he said earlier, you knew the material, but you wanted to make sure you got every single piece of notes on your paper. So I was constantly looking at it. So I was really glad to not have those. So it kind of freed me from that. So that, and my initial presentation didn't get to the point. I wanted to get to the point.